Hey everybody, how are you doing? I got some VCLT, the Vinyl Community Love Train. It still runs. I see because again I don't watch videos basically anymore. I mean, I a little every now and then I'll check in, but the vinyl community activity that I mainly keep up with is through Facebook and now through Instagram because they're so instant and short, and I like it like that. I don't want to get drawn into long conversations generally. But I see that people are still sending each other lots of records, lots of cool records all over the world. And I just recently received one. I always appreciate it, and I like to share when I get records because that's one of the few ways right now, and probably for a while now, that I get records due to economics. I'll get into that later. The worldwide economy is in chaos, and so I'm just living day to day, trying to take care of things, and not spend money I don't have. Try to keep it in the bank so I can keep the lights on and keep the roof over my head. Anyway, apparently, I got up from Steve C. Is it Carmichael? I forget already. But he wrote a nice letter, and I'll share somebody was saying that when he had brought up the Suede to me a few months back, and I addressed it in a video. I have Saturday Night on CD, single. And I did say, yeah, I wish I had some Suede on vinyl. And so Steve said it took him a while, but he finally bought something for me, and I really appreciate it very much, and it's very timely. I'll explain. Suede Sci-Fi Lullabies. This is a 3 LP set of B-sides. What's cool about Suede, and this is that a lot of these don't sound like B-sides. They could have been A-sides, or they could be just be a really good album. He's saying this is the first VCLT that he's ever sent, and he said he sent this record because it's the most prized amongst Suede fans. It does work as an album, even though it's not an album. Why do I like Suede? Well, it does relate to David Bowie and Englishness, okay? I like this a lot, Steve. Thank you very much. So don't worry about getting me being mean. I like this a lot. And it's the timing of it arriving after Bowie's death gives it that figures into my thoughts while listening to it. Where do I start? Suede is one of those bands, English bands, guitar bands, where there are, to me, a lot of comparisons to what Bowie did. The lead singer is a beautiful man who can be construed as being somewhat effeminate, although that's not what I see. I just see the man as being very graceful, like an animal. Just, he's got it, like a model. He has a dramatic voice that can also be taken as gay, which to me is ridiculous. It's a voice that has drama and emotional character, okay? I've never paid a lot of attention to the lyrics of their songs, but in general I don't. And so it sounds like they're singing about going out, swinging, being with a girl, being with a guy. But the sound of the music and Bernard Butler's guitar, which is a real plus, another parallel to Bowie and Mick Ronson, Brett and Bernard. Bernard's guitar sound is wonderful and really cutting and real. Right away, it's Suede. Well, you listen to enough Suede, it's like you hear the guitar. Oh, that's Suede. It's exciting. Even the up songs are exciting, and they I don't know. They excite my imagination. the quieter songs. Some of them are good. Some of them I just pass over. But Suede, good band. Yes, I knew about Suede. I'm kind of all over the place, but you understand I'm trying to just pull my thoughts together. Let me drink another cup of coffee. Drink some more coffee. This band relates to my sensibilities strongly, probably to do with, even though the Beatles are not my actual ground zero of where music started for me, the Beatles are like the bedrock of, if you were to ask me, well, okay, what is my foundation of music? You know, where does it start, or what is a real solid foundation? The Beatles is definitely one of them. But where it started for me was Little Richard and Chuck Berry and the Everly Brothers. But because of the impact of the Beatles' British wave after John Kennedy's death on my life, my inner life, there's a British sensibility to, that's the best way to put it, to about music. England has just always been important, and it's a part of the where I live in my head that this music really fits. I can't explain it much better. To tie in with that, I've recently gotten several requests, some to do Porcupine Tree, others related to Bowie, and others related to other stuff. And I'm just not feeling any of those requests. I'm not. And so, and I say that all along. I do the videos as I feel them. So I don't feel like doing those requests. But something that came to mind was to talk about and maybe show, I should have prepared because other records are out in the room, but I mentioned the Beatles. What is the trajectory of my musical history, or what is the framework for my mental musical landscape? Because they are different for different people. You have people who are like really into beats, crate diggers who are into beats for looping and sampling, and so they're looking for drum breaks, you know, and that's their mentality. That's not mine. You have other folks who are very ethnocentric, you know, say for example, a black person who's really into black music, or black or Afrocentrism. You even have white people that are really into that, where their ground zero is black music, an expression of African American values. That's part of it, but that's not mine. My ground zero really has to do with rock and roll, even though I love jazz and classical, and I don't listen to a lot of rock now, but it was the impact of the original rock and rollers, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, right away at the top of the heap, above Jerry Lee Lewis and Bill Haley and Elvis Presley. That was the first music that really excited me. And then when the Beatles happened, I didn't really understand the Beatles music. I Want to Hold Your Hand at first, I didn't understand it. I can remember as a child, you know, I could understand Frankie Avalon, Chuck Berry. The Beatles was weird at first. But it was when they played on Ed Sullivan that it really just came together for me. It was like a bomb dropped. You know, some kind of emotional, creative bomb dropped. And so the original British wave of rock is my ground zero mentally from how I operate. And it wasn't the Beatles and the Stones. It wasn't the Stones. And people who watch me know that I have disparaged the Stones, although I have respect for them. But it was the Beatles and the Yardbirds and the Dave Clark Five and the Who, and then moving into this psychedelia, not just England, but those songs and that whole thing just really has a lot to do with what my mental framework is. So I just wanted to share that. I was maybe going to try to show some records, but my mind is switched now. I should have brought Beatles records out of the other room to show to get started. But you know, the Beatles were the first big one. The next big one I can show, one of the next big ones was Jimi Hendrix. I'll just show a few. I have more Hendrix than this, but the next bomb that dropped, and I still remember the first time I saw Jimi Hendrix, not even heard him. I remember the first time I saw that brother. It stopped me in my tracks, and I was perplexed. I was in high school, junior high actually. It was at the end of the '60s, and I saw this for the first time in the record store. And I saw the black guy in the middle, and it was like, I was just flummoxed. It's like, you know, is this real? I mean, this was my dream. I mean, this is what I want. This is who I wanted to be. I didn't want to be Jimi Hendrix, but this is me. That's me. Okay, that's a version of me. I never had hair. We were always dirt poor. I just tell like it is. We didn't have no money, so I couldn't afford clothes or anything, you know. So I couldn't look cool ever. I never had any clothes. But Jimi Hendrix was the next big musical deal for me. And then when I found out that Buddy Miles, who was my best friend's cousin, was with Jimi Hendrix, it exploded my mind. And I still can't get all the details straight about how that affected me when I found that out. This album is monumental, one of the best albums ever made in my opinion. And just had a very, very large impact on me. The next music that really hit me hard that I can think of was Mothers of Invention and Pink Floyd. And I heard those as a teenager before I started doing drugs. So it wasn't about drugs. No, again, it was about the music and about the imaginative, spacey aspect of the music of Pink Floyd. Captured my imagination right away. Matter of fact, I don't have it anymore, and I don't know what happened to it, but as a kid, I found on the Tower label Arnold Lane as a 45 at a junk shop, and I bought it, or a mercantile shop. I bought it. I loved it. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know what happened to it. That would be quite the collector's item to have now. This is the first. I've looked it up, okay, because I've had snooty collectors come back at me and tell me, well, that's not a first pressing. You're wrong, you know, because I didn't investigate it heavy enough. I've investigated the absolute shit out of this. This is the first pressing, U.S. first pressing of Pink Floyd. It's got all the little deals. Well, look for this, look for this, look for this. It's all there. I got one. That's the part of record collecting I'm not into. I'm interested in that stuff, but I don't want to be all pretentious and shit, because that's not the reward. I would love to say his name, but there are a couple of collectors in the YouTube communities who are just very snobby and just real uppity, you know, and just real blatant about it. It's just really unpleasant. But they're probably my age or older, and they can't help it. It's who they are. It's so unappealing. I just wanted to share that right quick, you know. I could keep going. Jazz is important. My parents were jazz musicians, you know, so the first jazz that really made an impression on me probably was John Coltrane or Cannonball Adderley or Dizzy Gillespie. Those guys were played a lot in the house, okay? But because my parents were jazz musicians, as a kid, the thing you want to do is find your own identity, and so I went to rock and then came back to jazz, okay? So I just wanted to share that. Before I go, I'm going to keep this short. I want to thank people who have been kind in their responses and comments on my videos. The Black Sabbath one has had a lot of views, a lot of comments. I did delete a couple of comments because the tone of the comments were angry, and it's like, well, what is the point in coming over here expressing anger over here? Some of them were to my mind, and I will say it, what they were saying about Ozzy not being able to sing, to me, smacked of a lack of insight. Ozzy Osbourne, after all he's been through, all the abuse that he's done to his body with drugs and everything, he's 67 years old and he's still performing. A realistic perspective puts that into play, and then you realize the fact that he can stand up and sing anything is fantastic. Now, not everyone's constitution physically is the same. There are some people older than Ozzy who are more vital than him. There are people who are younger than Ozzy who are in worse shape than him. A bit of perspective would help temper some of the angry, seemingly, they sound juvenile to me when people make these comments. Well, Ozzy sucks, or, well, Bill Ward isn't there, so it ain't the real Black Sabbath. Good Lord, those comments just sound so short-sighted, okay? Let's talk about Bill Ward, okay? Once again, Bill Ward is an elderly man. He's had many problems physically because of alcohol and drugs and other things. What he did as the drummer of Black Sabbath, he punished those drums. He pounded the absolute hell out of them. At his age, it's probably not in his best interest to try to play the drums like that. That's probably a really realistic way of looking at why Bill Ward isn't with Black Sabbath, instead of, well, he's not Black Sabbath anymore because they couldn't pull off Bill Ward. What the fuck is that? That just really sounds dumb, okay? And that's not a put down of the person. I'm saying those words don't sound like they were thought out very well, okay? That's not an insult. That's like some information for you, okay? So one of the things that I'm still trying to do over here when I talk is to try to figure out a way to express what's on my mind, honestly, with emotion, but to get across the idea that I'm never intending to put others down personally. I'm just trying to share my perspective, okay? It's not necessary. Even talking about politics, those politicians as people, I love. It's what they're doing and what they're thinking, which is just totally reprehensible. Do you get that? Okay? I just got to hammer away at this stuff, because the world is just a funky time. And I have people say to me, well, it's always been like this. Well, yeah, it has, but I don't like it, and I'd like to see change, and so I'm advocating for change. That's what I'm doing, okay? I'm doing a good thing, okay? Let me turn on the radio and see what's going on. As investors look beyond and move lower in Chinese money to focus on corporate earnings. It's like people don't matter, It's like the media is beholden to the purse holders, and it's like human beings have no value. All we hear about is politics and money. And I'm not a fool. I'm not a fool. Politicians that's enough. Music keeps life vital. Art is what makes life wonderful, not politics. And thank you again, Steve, for the Suede. Thank you.